All right, everybody, welcome to episode 122 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL. I'm with the co-host with the most, Drew at DR_PRA. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Glad to be here. And if you're watching live, which I hope you are, you see we got a special guest. We got Ryan at Ryan Pros underscore FF. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. I love going on the first time. I'm happy for a second round. I lots of news to cover too. I'm excited.
Oh
Big week,
man,
big day. Big day, not even just a week, a day.
talk about it, man. Talk about it. I mean, this seems to have, and maybe we say this every year, but I don't think so. This seems to be the craziest off season that I can remember, and the draft hasn't even happened yet. Like usually we start getting pumped up, a week out, couple weeks out from the draft, but this off season has been bananas. So let's just get into it. I'll run through all the news and then we'll kind of pick and choose whatever we feel like talking about. So probably the biggest news, even though there was a ton of big news, Deshaun Watson traded to the Browns, and that was after the Browns were supposedly out of it. So three firsts, a couple of seconds, a later round pick, blah blah blah. I mean, that kind of I think started us off. Well, I guess this one actually took place first. Devontae Adams traded to the Raiders. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have his man anymore. We'll see how that goes. Uh, the Watson deal seemed to be the precursor to Matt Ryan getting traded to the Colts, which then left an opening in Atlanta, which Marcus Mariota filled. The Saints were out on quarterback until they signed Jameis Winston. So he's coming back. Um, Marcus Mariota needed a friend, so the Falcons also re-signed Cordarrelle Patterson. Lombardi Lenny going back to the Bucks after a little flirtation with the New England Patriots. We got Robert Woods traded to the Titans because that was after our man Allen Robinson got signed to that big money contract by the Los Angeles Rams. And then today, maybe the biggest one of them all. Who knows? Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins for about 7,000 draft picks. So I'm out of breath. Drew, how do you pick one? What interests you? What do you think might be fantasy relevant? Do your thing, man.
Oh gosh, so much. I think on a
Good
personal
luck.
note, I'm so happy for Mariota, man. I really enjoyed watching him at Oregon. Of course, he was in Nashville at Tennessee playing his first few seasons, and just a really good guy. So I hope he gets a solid run here, even if they draft somebody behind him, to sit and learn for a year. I hope he earns himself another gig after this one. Um, Tyreek to the Dolphins. We talked about a little before we jumped on here. It's starting to boost my confidence again in my end of our bet between Tua and Trevor Lawrence, but we'll see how all that plays out. A lot of mouths to feed there now, so I'm assuming there might be some other moves coming up and maybe some weapons going away. But love to see some of the change coming to the Dolphins organization. Yeah, excited for a couple of startups that I did where I was able to get some of their players a little bit later. I don't have enough Waddle still, even with Tyreek there. Maybe now is my chance to get some more Waddle if people are going to pivot to Tyreek being the guy. So those two are probably the ones that jumped out at me the most that I have any kind of personal connection to. What about you, Ryan?
I want to spin this in a dynasty perspective a little bit. I want to talk about Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. Remember, what was it? A week ago, we thought these wide receiver landing spots for dynasty were going to be terrible, and now two of them get to play with Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. The Warriors is declining over here for landing spots.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting with these wide receivers. And just the way this offseason has been going, I can't even say, like, this is it. I mean, if I would have told you after last or during last episode that both Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill were going to get traded as soon as we signed off, you would have laughed at me. I probably would have laughed at. We've seen not only both of those guys get traded, but then get big money contracts with their new team. So that's going to be fun. Um, Deshaun Watson, I mean, he kind of, the trade alone, I mean, feel how you feel about everything that's going on with him. That's everybody's personal business. But he triggered this cascade of quarterbacks. I mean, Matt Ryan gets traded because of the Deshaun Watson trade. Marcus Mariota gets a job because of this Deshaun trade. Jameis, finally finds a landing spot. And now I saw a report, and we'll see what happens, that Baker could get cut because it seems like there aren't many places that are looking. I mean, Seattle needs somebody, but Jimmy G's still out there. I mean, looking to get traded. Now, does this turn into Jimmy G coming back to San Francisco? And then what happens? Because we've hyped up Trey Lance. It was supposed to be Trey Lance's time. Jimmy G was going to get traded. It was a foregone conclusion. A lot of people were saying the Colts looked like his landing spot, and now, well, Matt Ryan's there, so that's a spot that's dried up. And can we see the 49ers trading Jimmy G to a division rival in Seattle? Probably not. So how many more places are there for a quarterback to go? I mean, you can say Houston, maybe, but it seems like they like Davis Mills. What are you thinking, Ryan?
I'm thinking it's Carolina or bust at this point for Jimmy G. Honestly, there's nothing else.
Yeah, Carolina. I mean, it's amazing how it seems almost like the draft and the lack of big time names at the quarterback position has really forced everyone in the NFL to kind of play this game of musical chairs and trying to get their guy. And and now it almost seems like everyone is kind of comfortable in what they have. Now what happens with these quarterbacks? Do they fall even more? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Malik Willis going at 2. But what happens after that? Do we see everyone else fall because everyone has kind of their guy, and there's nothing that really reaches out and touches you at that quarterback position in the draft? It's going to be really interesting. So obviously, kind of the Watson trade started the domino effect, but man, I can't wait to see how this all shakes out. And if Baker gets cut, man, I think Baker becomes a popular name as like a backup guy. Like, hey, Baker can play a little bit. Like, don't you want to have your guy, kind of backed up? Like, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, God, just so much news, and even just reading it all out tired me out. So, let's go to the timeline, because this is what we do. We had a little fun with the news, and honestly, if we spent time talking about every news topic, we would spend our hour and a half just doing that. But the timeline is where we're at. So this first one here is from Dynasty Foosball at Koki FF. We've seen an RB drafted in the first round of every draft since 2014, and that was the Bishop year. Remember Bishop Sankey, the good old days of trying to figure this whole dynasty thing out. Brees Hall is no Bishop Sankey. So we hope, because we didn't think Bishop Sankey was Bishop Sankey either, and then he turned into Bishop Sankey. Um, who uses a first on a running back this year? So this is interesting. I want to maybe flip this. Um, who would you want to use a first on a running back for your dynasty teams? Ryan, why don't you start us off? Who would
Uh,
you love to see that first round pick get used on?
Oh, you already know. I have to go with the layup here. I have to pick Kansas City. They just acquired a second first today. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Me and Tyler have talked about this. He's not, a starting running back that I know they wasted. Yeah, wasted. They used first round capital on him, and it didn't quite pan out. And I'd love to see him go to Kansas City with one of their 2 first round picks.
So Kansas City, Brees Hall. Woof. I mean, we would get excited. I mean, I think that would put him as the consensus 101 in our startups.
He already is almost.
I think he is, but I think a lot of
Almost.
people are saying, especially if Malik Willis goes to Detroit, in Superflex, we're talking about in Superflex here, that has to put him at the 101, especially if Brees goes with a second, but yeah, I mean, if he goes with a first to Kansas City, I mean, we're almost gonna repeat the CEH thing again. We're gonna be like, I mean, look at this guy, look at this team, look at this. Let's go. So that's a good one. Drew, what do you think, man? Who would you want to see a team use that first on for a running back?
Oh man, for fantasy purposes, I mean Atlanta's a close second. Be great to see somebody go there that could dominate the backfield a bit. I know they were able to use Patterson a good bit last year, and he had half a season of some strong games. But I think it's a repeat of last year. If anybody goes there, if they upgrade a few things, they could have a good spot. Fandom wise, I'd love to see the Bills take a first round back and commit to somebody. I like Devin Singletary. I have him on a couple of teams. I know we've got some other needs defensively, of course, but if he's sitting there at 25, I wouldn't be mad if Brees Hall went to the Bills and we could just lock up an every down back or somebody that maybe we feel good handing the rock off to a little bit more, take some pressure off of Josh Allen and see what happens.
Yeah, that would be 2 fun ones there. I think Atlanta's picking at 8, so that might be a little rich for a running back. The Bills will be an interesting one. RIP Devin Singletary value, because at that point it would be the Brees Hall show all day, every day. Yeah, this is a tough one for me because obviously I thought about Kansas City. I thought about Buffalo. So who do I pick, right? Who's out there? Who needs a running back that has that first round pick or maybe just has like the offense that really who I actually here we go. You know who I could see doing it? The Philadelphia Eagles. They got 3 first round picks. Do they really like Miles Sanders? Who knows? I mean, I don't like Miles Sanders, but I don't want to speak for the Philadelphia Eagles brass.
I mean, I'm a fan, so I could. I mean, maybe I'm qualified enough. I don't know, but you're correct.
But man, I mean, when you have 3 picks like that, you really. And the Eagles were a playoff team last year. Yeah, they have holes to fill, but they signed Hassan Reddick, which I think was an amazing move by them. So, if Jalen Hurts, if this is supposed to be try out your number 2 for him, get him a horse, man. Get him just a stud running back that he can put out there and have Devonta Smith and the ghost of Jalen Rager and the corpse of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside out there as receiving options. But they also have Dallas Goedert, and really kind of put a little bit more juice into that offense and see what happens. So I'll go with a dark horse. I'll go with Philly with one of their picks. They have the ammo to kind of make a splash there, and I think we would like Brees Hall, especially with Jalen Hurts back there. Uh, with legs as well. We always say, what helps out a running back? A running quarterback. So get a great guy with a great running quarterback, and let's see what happens there. So I hope that helped you, Dynasty Foosball, for three different opinions there on where a first round running back could go. This next one here is from Jake from State Farm at Parry_FF. He said, question, we're assuming someone has the 101 and they're rebuilding, which means running back should be the last piece we add. Should we assume an RB should be the undisputed 101? Honest question here. Want to hear different perspectives. So I kind of put these two questions together because they kind of roll into one another. Ryan mentioned it earlier. Hall is kind of sitting at the consensus 101, but we all know if Brees Hall maybe doesn't go to mid second and Malik Willis goes number 2 overall, he's going to be the 101 probably in Superflex the majority of drafts. But the question here is not whether he should go 101 or not go 101, but should we be talking running back if you're the real legitimate 101? You were the worst team. Your team stinks. Should you be looking at a running back? We always talk about these running back windows. It's, 3 years. If you're lucky, you get 5 premium years out of a guy, and then that guy's dust. And, if you're not a quick mover, if you're not a quick rebuilder, he may outlive his usefulness before you get to be contending again. So, Drew, why don't you start us off? Should we be looking at a running back at 101 if we are a bad team?
Oh, that's tough. I think when you look at most of the positions, the quarterback's going to have the most insulation for their value over the first couple of seasons. You mentioned Trey Lance earlier, right? People are still giving away boatloads to get him, and he's played how many quarters of real football, right? And Jimmy G is still on the roster. I think if you're the true 101 because you were the worst team last year, I would lean toward taking Malik Willis. And then even if he sits for a year, just like Trey Lance did, there is a really good chance that next year at this time, you'll be able to turn him into more usable pieces. And let's say quarterback's your strength now too. That's fine. You can use that for more picks. And then next year we know running back is going to be good. And we know there are going to be some more quarterback options, et cetera. Running back, if you feel really good about your evaluation of Brees Hall and he has a really good landing spot, then sure. I flipped Jonathan Taylor in his second season in a rebuild and got Javonte and 2 firsts with it. And I feel good about going into this year's draft and loading up and hopefully competing this year. So it really depends on how far away you think you are. Hopefully your rebuild, like you said, Josh, is a season away. Otherwise, it's just, you're donating to your league for 2 or 3 years, which, if that's fun, that's fun. But at the end of the day, I think most of us are in this to try to win every now and then. So unless you're going to be willing to move off that running back in his first year as soon as he starts to peak, I think the quarterback is the safer move to take at that 101. Or, if you want, move back, right? Let's say Willis and Hall both get prime landing spots. Wait till you're on the clock with that 101 and start fielding some offers. Start hitting people up on draft night, April 28th, whatever it is. As soon as we see those guys go off the board, start sending, post a message in your group, me or whatever you have for your chat. Start taking offers. Then people's wheels will be turning. They're going to want to get there as quick as possible. And if you can move back and collect maybe a mid first this year and then another first next year, take the profit and run, and really set yourself up to make some noise next year. If you really think you're going to be that far away this year, if one piece isn't going to fix it for you.
Nice. What do you think, Ryan? Should we be focusing at running back at 101, or what should we do here?
I mean, first off, I'm gonna piggyback off of Drew's point. He's correct. If you could flip that for a mid first and a 2023 first, those are going to be valued as gold halfway through the season if they not already are. But I'll counter the flip side of this argument. I mean, Brees Hall is an outstanding prospect. I feel like he gets so much hate when people talk about this draft class. They say, oh, it's not a good class compared to 22, or no, not 22, 21 and 20, which they're right. But Brees Hall is just a superior prospect. He was tested near JT numbers. Like, it's ridiculous. And I don't know how my dynasty rankings are going to finalize, but I think I'm going to have Brees Hall. It's going to be hard not to put him at like 6 or 7 right off the rip, honestly, above all these other guys with age concerns, below like the Swifts and the Javantes, but that's about it. And Malik Willis is probably going to be in the mid-teens if he goes where I think he's going to go, which I think is to Detroit. But I mean, you could take the superior prospect and, you know, flip him later. Like Drew said, like he got Javante and 2 firsts for Brees Hall. And Brees Hall might be that level of prospect. So I could see it going either way. I don't know what I'm going to do personally. Draft capital landing spot matters so much. Well, draft capital. Landing spot,
Right.
not as much. I have landing spot for quarterback. I have to preface that. I don't really account for landing spot in running back or wide receiver, really. Because that's how people missed out on, like myself, AJ Brown, because I'm like, oh, he went to the Titans with Derrick Henry. You know, it's not going to work out. It worked out, but yeah.
Well, and I do want to say landing spot does matter. And here's why it does matter. Because unless you're playing in a league with all sharks, there's a guy, let's say Brees Hall goes in the second to Atlanta. Oh my God, now he's so much better. It's kind of what we did with CEH. He's so much better than we even thought he was because of the offense. There are going to be people in your league that think like that. So it doesn't really matter, but it does matter when you're trying to look at ways, as we were talking about, to flip the pick. If we can go, Brees Hall's in Atlanta now, man. There's no one there. It's Cordarrelle Patterson, and that's it. Like, does CPAT scare you that much? Probably not. I got the 101. Let's drop a couple picks. I want you to have Brees Hall. You want to have Brees Hall. And that's why I think it does matter. But if you're stuck for some reason, no one wants to trade up to the 101. No one in your league feels like Ryan does, where he's going to be like a top 10 guy off the rip, no doubt about it. Then you take the best player. I don't care, because Drew mentioned it. He traded JT in year 2. Let Brees Hall run wild for a year. And then guess what? Your team probably, if you haven't made the right moves, is still pretty bad. Okay, now you have a second-year running back who's done it for a year, and now you trade him like Drew did for a Hall, Javante, and 2 first, whatever the case may be, and then rebuild with the pool of assets you just got because no one wanted to trade up maybe a couple picks in the first and throw you a little sweetener. Now they got to pay the tax because we've seen it. It's been proven. So I never advocate for, in rookie drafts, taking positions of need or taking, well, I'm weak at running, or I'm weak at wide receiver, so I have to take a wide receiver. Like, no, like, take the best guys, and you'll usually end up being okay in this rookie draft thing that we do.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's a coin flip, right? At this point,
yeah,
with where we're at now, I don't have a problem with either of them going 101. To be quite honest with you, now someone else I might have a problem with going 101, but those two.
yeah. I mean, exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying to move up to the 102 in one league so I can get 1 and 2. In Josh's league that I'm in, I have 1 and 2. In another one, I've got 1, 6, 8, and 12, and I'm trying to package 6 and 12 to get up to 2. And the guys riding the fence on it. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to add in that I feel good about to get there, so I can walk away with both Willis and Hall. Any thoughts, Ryan? I've got the 201 as well.
I love that. I love going up and getting the package. They're the 2 superior prospects in this class in terms of fantasy, outlook, except when, George Pickens or Sky Moore lands to the Chiefs and everyone shoots them up their boards right away in the first round. But I'm a fan. I'm trying to do the same thing you are as well in a couple of leagues. So I definitely feel that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how successful you guys are. You'll have to keep us. You'll have to keep me apprised of how it's going and if you guys have been successful or not. So this next one here is from Dennis at Daddy FFL. Traded Elijah Mitchell and the 207 for Travis Etienne. How do we feel about Travis Etienne this year? This is an interesting one for me. I think I know how I feel about him, but I'm not 100% sure if I think I know how I feel about him. So, Ryan, why don't you go first? How do you feel about Travis Etienne for this upcoming season?
I have to say, at least he got a better coach than last year. So I know he was hurt the whole time, and the injury is not really one that you recover well from the foot. I don't know how I'm feeling about Travis Etienne. I'm a little on the fence. I'll tell you right now, I have him lower than Elijah Mitchell, so I like the side that he traded away more. So I'm just not really buying into the Etienne hype this offseason.
Yeah, Drew mentioned earlier he feels a lot better about Tua because of Tyreek Hill coming into town. Well, I feel a lot better about Trevor Lawrence because Urban Meyer is on a plane, smoked out of there, and they have a very talented NFL head coach in Doug Peterson running the show now. So that makes me feel a lot better. I've been telling everybody, Trevor Lawrence is the first player in history as a rookie to have to be the team's starting quarterback and head coach at the same time. So um, a lot for any prospect shoulder. So I think this year he can focus just playing quarterback and actually learn from somebody who not only has been a good head coach in the league, but was a quarterback in the league as well. So I just want to throw that out there. Drew, what do you think about this trade, and what do you think about Travis Etienne?
Neither of these guys are guys that I'm particularly high on or want to go and add to my rosters. I actually traded Mitchell away at what I thought was his peak around playoffs last year to grab, I think it was Michael Pittman and Hunter Renfrow to make a run. And yeah, I am not there for Travis Etienne with that injury to his foot. I've seen people in the community saying they'd pay up to like the 108 in Superflex for him straight up, and I'm not there. I would give the 201. I feel pretty good about that. The league that I have the 112, I'd probably give the 112 just to take the shot there, because I feel like that's just as good a chance of hitting as the wide receivers that might be there, or if Ritter is there at the turn or something for a quarterback prospect. But even then, I'd probably rather spend that pick on Desmond Ritter and hope that he pans out or spikes a little bit. So I would rather have the Mitchell on the 207 side because I view them pretty similarly in terms of value, and I like that Mitchell's had a season to do it, and he's shown that he can carry it well. And San Francisco's a good place to do it. So I would prefer to have Elijah Mitchell in the 207 and have a shot to maybe get the next Michael Carter even, or somebody like that, just to kind of add to my running back depth.
Yeah, so the Liz Frank injury that Travis Etienne had, obviously not a doctor, but it seems like just from everything that I've seen, actual doctors, right, and articles that I've read, it seems like that first year back is like you're still trying to work out all the bugs. It's not you at your best. You're not at top speed. You can't cut like you normally cut, and for that reason, I don't want Travis Etienne. I mean, I'm sure somebody could come up with a price where I take him, but I also think that price is not what anyone rationally is selling him for. Um, I just feel like it's probably going to be another down year. He's just working the kinks out, and you can probably buy him for even lower than Elijah Mitchell in the 207 after the 2022 season's over. So um, if you're really like I need to be in the ETN sweepstakes, give yourself a few months, and I think you'll be able to get them for a lot less. So, I mean, I'm with Drew here. I like the Elijah Mitchell and the 207 side better. I'm also curious to see what Jacksonville does because they haven't really done anything at the running back position in free agency yet. So, is this, we've kind of seen the Doug Peterson system where he likes to use a lot of running backs, and maybe that's because the running backs he had in Philly weren't that good. I don't, but I mean, Travis Etienne hasn't proven that he's a star. So, do they draft a guy or two? Are they waiting for maybe some guys to get cut to bring in another guy? It'd be interesting to see. I don't think ETN comes in as the only guy that is even capable of stepping on an NFL field before week 1. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I think there's some people are getting hyped about college teammates being reunited, right? I mean, we've seen it work so well with Chase and Burrow, and we've got Waddle and Tua and a couple of other, now of course Devontae and Derek Carr getting back together. So I think some people are maybe playing that up as well, like how potent was Clemson's offense with these two, and again, if you're truly a believer in Trevor Lawrence and his talent, what can he open up, or what will they have for chemistry together? So I can see a possibility for some good outcomes here, but I'm not willing to risk the 107, 108, 109 on it.
No, yeah, I wouldn't even pay a first round pick for ETN right now. That's just me. Someone else wants to go out there and do it. Do what you think is best, but it won't be me. And let's face it, I think Doug Peterson is going to tell T-Law he better find that chemistry with Christian Kirk real quick for all the money he's getting paid. Forget about who you knew in college. This is the pros. You need to pepper this man with as many targets as humanly possible because we're paying him. I think he's the third highest paid wide receiver in the league. So yeah, good luck with that.
It's unreal.
So so this next one here is from Jay Ryder at Dynasty Judge. Which side do you like here in a Dynasty 12-team Superflex tight end premium? Don't have what the premium is here. But do you like CeeDee Lamb or Elijah Moore, Dalton Schultz, and the 201? So, which Dallas Cowboy do you like more? I'll start here. It's CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the community did this weird thing after the season was over where we were like, CeeDee Lamb is not a good player. Try to trade him and get anything you can for him. And it was just weird to me because I was like, okay, like I think a lot of people, and I was one of those people as well that said, in a couple of years, CeeDee Lamb is going to be like a top 3 receiver for Dynasty. And he kind of got there, but he didn't put up the top 3 numbers. So then instead of just saying, okay, maybe we were wrong about having him at top 3, maybe he's more like a top 15 guy, we just said, nah, he sucks. Get rid of him. Really weird. I don't know what we were all thinking at the time. But this almost seems like some residual from that moment in Dynasty history there, where we're still like, get rid of him, get what you can for him and get out. I mean, I like Elijah Moore. I like Elijah Moore a lot, but he's not CeeDee Lamb. Like I'm just gonna put that out there. Dalton Schultz. I say this every year. Every tight end from tight end 7 to tight end 17 is the same guy. Dalton Schultz is in that mix. He's one of those Dawson Knox, Robert Tonyan, all those guys that, any of them can have a top 5 week and then wake up the next week and have a top 15 week. I mean, it's just they're all the same guy. And then the 201, Drew, you mentioned it earlier. Kind of the community consensus is that this isn't a good draft. So, what value does that 201 really have? This isn't the 201 of last year where we were still talking about guys like Elijah Moore, possibly, a Rashad Bateman, a Rondell Moore, those kind of guys. So, yeah, it just seems like one good piece and two meh pieces for CeeDee Lamb. What do you think, Drew?
I actually voted in the minority on this, without knowing the full context, like you said, of what's the premium, how many starters. If it's fewer than 10 starters, then sure, give me Lamb, and I want to plug a top 10 wide receiver into that spot for sure. If it's more than 10, 11, 12, whatever, then sure, I'll take the depth. But I do like Elijah Moore. I don't know that the gap between him and Lamb, now that Amari is gone, I think Lamb should definitely bump, but so should Schultz, right? Depending on who they bring in or how they fill that out or continue to fill that out. I do think based on it's funny how the quality of the quarterbacks in this draft will probably push them down a bit, which means you'll have some lottery picks, I think, for quarterback around the turn. So I'm fine trying to take a shot there, depending on how you feel about your prospects. But quarterback is generally the toughest position to get right. So good luck to you. I know a few of us maybe got lucky with some late quarterbacks in the last few years, but I like Elijah Moore maybe more than the community does. We'll see what Zach Wilson does this year if he steps up and actually progresses. But yeah, I think I usually try to vote real quick and not overanalyze it, and I found that I hit the package side first.
All right, Ryan. So you're breaking the tie here.
I'm breaking the tie. Oh no, but I do agree with the 201 portion, but I'm gonna have to go with CeeDee Lamb. There's always quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. Justin Herbert was a late first round pick, and look at how he's panned out. Davis Mills is a starter. He's a lot later, but he's a starter this year. You can find a lot of quality quarterbacks late in the draft, but I got to go with CeeDee Lamb. And trust me, I love Elijah Moore. I've been hammering him in the fifth of every startup I've been in this offseason. I've been drafting him in the fifth. Dalton Schultz is going to have a monster year. But we just saw the Jets try to trade for Tyreek Hill today. He would have ate up a monster target share of Elijah Moore. So Elijah Moore is going to be good, don't get me wrong, but give me CeeDee Lamb. It looks like the Jets are going to add someone at 10 now, and that's going to tank his value. So just buy low later,
Ryan, I think you nailed it.
Very true. Very true.
The Jets have 2 picks in the top 10. So would we be shocked to see a Garrett Wilson go? Would we be shocked to see, insert your favorite wide receiver here, Drake London? We're not going to be surprised. And at that point, where does that love for Elijah Moore go? I'm still going to love him. I'm still going to love him a lot, but I'm going to love him a little bit less because, especially, I think Garrett Wilson should be the guy at one of those picks to the Jets. And if he is, I mean, that boy can do some work. I mean, and obviously, unless we're going to now turn the Jets into a top 10 offense on the back of that, somebody's got to suffer a little bit. So, unfortunately, it's probably going to be our favorite guy.
Just got rid of James. Just got rid of Crowder, but I would like to change my answer based on that. That makes a lot of sense, Ryan. So sorry, Twitter poll. You're stuck with my response.
Oh, I hate when that happens. I accidentally sometimes I rush and click the wrong button. I'm like, oops, and then it's like 13% voted with you. It's like, oh, I'm the only vote that voted that one. Oops.
Yeah.
Gotta tell them in the comments. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Jay, I hope you got CeeDee Lamb in this, and I hope it's successful for you. This next one here is from Wyatt at WyattB_FF. Crossing my fingers that the Dolphins don't draft a running back and that Raheem Mostert's presence keeps Chase Edmonds' ADP in the running back 30 to 35 range because I will happily draft him at that cost. I actually wonder what Chase Edmonds' ADP is right now, because 30 to 35 seems low, but then I'm like, maybe it's not as low as I think it is. It's one of those things. I'm curious though, does Raheem Mostert keep your ADP down? Like, it seems like if Raheem Mostert has the ability to keep your ADP down, you weren't that good to begin with. Like, I like Raheem Mostert, and like the 2 games he plays every season, he is amazing. But unfortunately, it's the other 14 to 15 games that he goes missing that uh, doesn't allow him to affect much else. So, we were talking about first round running backs. Obviously, Miami will now not be in that conversation because they traded their first round pick for Tyreek Hill. By the way, good on them. I think that pick was 29 or something like
Yep.
that. So, but if they use a mid second, what if they get Hall? What if they get Walker? Like, ooh, Chase Edmonds. I mean, I feel like we're gonna be back in to old Chase Edmonds territory where he was splitting with, insert running back name here. Last year was James Conner. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if they draft a guy, Chase Edmonds is definitely, that stock is going to tank. But I'll ask this question: does Raheem Mostert like tank anyone's ADP, or am I just way too low on Raheem Mostert?
Not for me, he doesn't.
Just
muddies the water.
Yeah,
I'm in at cost on Raheem Mostert, but he doesn't tank anyone else's ADP.
yeah, and obviously with the new coaching staff there, coming from San Francisco, you know, it's not that they liked using a bunch of running backs. It always just seemed that in San Francisco, guys got hurt, so they had to use a lot of running backs. They actually did try to stick with their guy um, until their guy got hurt. I mean, we saw it last year with Elijah Mitchell. He was there, he played, he got hurt. Obviously, he wasn't playing, but as soon as he was back and healthy, he was back in and playing. So it seems like right now, if that holds the form in Miami, Chase Edmonds is going to be that guy, unless obviously they draft kind of one of the top 3 running back prospects. And Raheem Mostert is probably not getting a lot of run unless obviously there's a Chase Edmonds injury, and then at that point, they still do have Myles Gaskin, and
Hopefully,
I'm
it's a
not
2-week
saying.
injury.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they couldn't keep him healthy in San Francisco so hopefully maybe the bad luck stayed in San Francisco, and they're bringing the good luck to Miami. But is Chase Edmonds really going that low? I mean,
Yeah, I just looked at the DLF ADP for March, and he is RB35, and that's with the rookies inserted, and the top 3 are above him with Hall, Walker, and Spiller. So he's
wow.
RB35, and right below him is Rashad White, so he go even lower.
Oh, wow.
Melvin Gordon too. He doesn't have a team yet.
Yeah,
So
the second he signs in Atlanta, he goes to the moon. um, yeah, Melvin Gordon, man, it's a shame he doesn't have a job yet, especially with the way teams are throwing money around. I'm surprised Jacksonville didn't offer him like 18 million a year to play running back for him. But yeah, let's sidetrack here. Where should Melvin Gordon go? I'm just calling audible here.
there's a couple spots, and I think it's all the ones that we mentioned beforehand. Honestly,
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I mean, I'd love to see him in Buffalo.
Oh man. Oh yeah, Drew, you
That'd
need
be
to
so
call. You
awesome.
need to call up management there. How come they haven't? How come they haven't laid some money on Melvin Gordon yet? Or they use it all on Von Miller and they're
We're-
tapped out now?
Yeah, that was a lot of money, and then I'm sure we got to start out Stephon Diggs here because I'm sure he's watching all the wide receiver money getting thrown around and waiting for his to come along.
And that's the crazy thing.
But yes,
It's not
Mr.
even
Bean,
that-
if you're listening,
and I mean, both Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams prove that they're not scared of leaving their elite quarterbacks and going somewhere else. Like they're like, pay me my money, give me my respect. I don't care who throws me the ball. I'll still keep doing what I'm doing. So, Stephon Diggs is. I'm curious about Stephon Diggs though because he was so unhappy in Minnesota with the way that offense was being run. And he went to Buffalo where that offense is kind of like a work of art. I'm wondering if he would complain because Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill didn't know that pain. Like Stephon Diggs is like, I've felt that pain before. Like I know what being with a good quarterback and a good offense is. And
the other side.
Yeah, so I'm very curious. I mean, I'm sure Stephon Diggs' agent is probably going, hey guys, look at this money, maybe a few million more over here would be nice, but I wonder if he would take it to the point where he asks out because he doesn't like it because, I mean, he could be back on a team like Minnesota where it's like, we're going to run first and we have other passing options that need to get the ball first. And Stephon, you have to sit and you have to like what you're getting. So, Buffalo would be a good one for Melvin Gordon. San Francisco would be interesting. We're talking about, the old San Francisco offensive coordinator going to Miami. Like Melvin Gordon beats out Eli Mitchell there real quick. I'm trying to think where else could he go. I mean,
does Belichick
Seattle
have the pull anymore to get guys like him?
My thing is like I don't know if guys like him really want to go to New England. Like I don't know if running backs want to go there. I mean, do you want to be Melvin Gordon when you still have juice and play, lose, 60% of snaps to Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson? Like probably not, I think they tried to tempt Lombardi Lenny, and he said, "I'll just go back to the Bucks and be the guy for a Super Bowl contending team." Where else could he go? I mean, Houston is always trying to sign running backs. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, how talented you are. Houston will sign you, so there's a spot. Yeah, I'm surprised Melvin Gordon doesn't have a job, I guess is what I'm saying. There's a lot of openings where he could do really well, and teams still have cap room. So that was a fun little sidetrack there. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about Melvin Gordon and why he doesn't have a job. All right. Last but certainly not least, this is from Josh Larkey at J Larkey Tweets. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, best receiving tandem in the NFL. Don't even think this is a hot take. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins would like to have a word. They're on line one. Is there any other tandem that you guys can think of that that would rival the Devontae Adams, Darren Waller combo?
At the time of the tweet, Tyreek and Kelsey would probably like the word.
I was gonna say.
Now, maybe not so much. And the only other one that came to mind for me was, I think Deebo and Kittle would like to throw their hat in the ring here as well.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah, I agree with that one. But yeah, I was gonna say that too. If you sent me this the show sheet yesterday and I looked at it, I would have been like, yeah, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce because the tweet came out before then, but no more, I guess. I mean, I agree with you, Josh. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins will have that locked up by midseason. They're insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and I'll get on this soapbox because I argued with so many people about this. It's funny listening to Dynasty guys who play Dynasty, who are really into Dynasty, talk about building actual NFL teams. We had this conversation, this time last year. Should the Bengals take Penei Sewell or should they take Jamar Chase? And everybody, not everybody, but the majority of people were like, you got to take the offensive lineman. You can't get Joe Burrow hurt again. And I always said, you got to take the best player on your board. You have a top 5 pick. It's the same thing we talked about in rookie drafts. Like, you take the best guy. You can always figure it out later. And there was the little meme,
Yeah.
the Joe Burrow throwing a Jamar Chase and he can't get it off because there's no offensive lineman. And then Joe Burrow throwing to anybody because they have the off. Guess what? Joe Burrow was throwing it to Jamar Chase all the way to the Super Bowl. And guess what? Everyone all of a sudden kind of got on board as we went on. And I kept poking the bear because after every win, I would go, so are we still debating this Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell thing? Or like, have we all come around to agree? Because we also forget that like the draft isn't 1 round. The draft is 7 rounds. And hey, the NFL even lets you have multiple picks in a round if you can work that out. Like, so, and now we've just seen, holy man, we've seen the Bengals just morph that offensive line. I mean,
Beefy.
they just signed Lyle Collins on Monday. I mean, they turned that from a maybe slightly below average offensive line to a above average offensive line. And they did the same thing that the Chiefs did. I mean, the Chiefs last year totally revamped their offensive line, and it got them all the way to the AFC Championship game. So, like, NFL teams don't reach for quarterbacks. We've seen that done a million times and almost never work out. Just take the best player available. You'll be able to figure out everything else later on. But yeah, that's my.
I think I think you're right, Josh. That's the best trio. When you add the quarterback in the mix, Burrow, Higgins, Chase, far and away, tier their own. But actually, as I'm looking at this, and we just mentioned him, right? If we're doing just the receiving duos, how do we feel about Tyreek and Waddle now?
That I kind of flashed through my head. That's really interesting.
That's pretty nice too. So it's amazing the swing that Tyreek can make from one team to the next. But yeah, but then you have Tua there, who is he's no Joe Burrow, he's no Patrick Mahomes. We don't know yet what's going to happen in San Francisco. So is it going to be Lance throwing week 1 to Debo and Kittle? Both Debo and Kittle had decent year last year with Jimmy G. So yeah, at least we kind of know what's going to be there. But I think that the ceiling is still unknown for what Chase and Higgins can do with Joe Burrow, a healthy line. Joe Mixon even, right? What's going to happen with Joe Mixon this year? So it is going to be a lot of fun to watch them. I am fully expecting it to be a Bills-Bengals AFC Championship if things go right and people stay healthy. And it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Tyreek getting out of Kansas City now turns it into Juju and Travis Kelce, and that doesn't quite have the same ring as Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So that is what it is. But yeah, it's funny because we're also looking at the draft, and there's probably going to be like 5 is my number right now. Wide receivers taken in the first round. So, I mean, I've been looking at mock drafts where Traylon Burks goes 24 to Dallas. CeeDee Lamb and Traylon Burks all of a sudden is like, hey, Traylon Burks hasn't done a thing in the league yet, but man, that definitely makes it exciting. And if we have Garrett Wilson go to the Jets, Elijah Moore hasn't popped yet, but man, if those two can get on the same page, that's like a fun young combo. Like it's funny just the mass amount of wide receiver talent that has poured into the league in like the last 3 years. It's just kind of been like the last 3 years, every year it's just been like, hey, do you need a wide receiver? Like that's why like it's amazing that the Jacksonville Jaguars have to pay Christian Kirk $1 billion a year when it's like, how have you missed on all of this talent that has poured into the league over the last 3 years? Like even just throwing darts at a dartboard, you should have been able to hit one of these guys. And you have just totally missed out on everything. And now you have to pay Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. And man, I mean, I thought rich people blew their money on crazy things, but spending like almost $200 million on those three guys is like, you could have done so much good with that money. I mean, so much good could have been done with that money. And instead, I mean, like Zay Jones is getting paid more, I think, than DJ Chark. Like, why don't you just keep DJ Chark for a year and $10 million like Detroit did? Like, Detroit made a good move. Like, we don't say that very often. Big up to Bill McCarthy there at Super Duper Flex. But like that's a good move. Like DJ Chark, 1 year, $10 million. Okay. Like let's see what he can do in the offense. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it's better than spending 18 mil annually on Christian Kirk. Like, that's my opinion. I mean, Juju signed for what? 1 year, $10.5 million, right? I think was
Yeah.
the top.
The
Like
base
that-
was nowhere near 10 million. It was like 3.
Like,
Yeah, it's cheap and then incentivized.
like why? Like Jacksonville was like, we could get Juju or we could get Christian Kirk. And at least Juju, you can say, had 2 like amazing
Yeah, wide
years.
receiver 1 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe he's not that guy anymore, and that's a possibility. And maybe he needs a, Hall of Fame talent like Antonio Brown on the other side to do it. But like, at least he's proven in some circumstance he can do it. I mean, Christian Kirk has not proven in any circumstance that he can do it. Guy's never had a
That would have been
1,000
awesome to
yards.
see Juju go to the Cardinals and be across from Hopkins for a season
Oh
and
man,
replace Christian Kirk.
that would have been awesome. Fun fact: Christian Kirk and I have the same number of 1,000-yard seasons in the NFL. So,
Me too.
Jacksonville, if you want to send a few mil my way, I'll get out there, man. Let's go. I mean, but yeah, God bless NFL free agency. I don't get mad at anybody making their money, by the way. I will get mad at teams for stupidly spending their money, but hey, good for Christian Kirk. Like somebody said to him, you can get $18 million a year. And probably even Christian Kirk was like, nah, get out of here. Like, I can't. And he got it, and good for him because if it was me, I would have signed that contract as quickly as he did. So there it is. So that's the end of the show sheet. So that is all we got. I want to thank you, Ryan, for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. Why don't you, on the way out, let everybody know where they can find you, what you're doing, and what you're up to?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast to come on here and talk some ball with you guys. It's so much fun. But
Love it.
Love
You
it.
could find me writing for the Dynasty Vipers. I'm gonna start back up on content there in a little bit with the rookies coming up, and then you could find me on YouTube on Tyler's channel at Tyler FF the Creator. I think I got that right. I think I got the order of words right. But you can find me on there. We do shows every Monday, and I love doing it. It's talking ball is just fun. I don't know what else to say. Like, I can't wait for the draft.
Dude, I'm with you. I can't wait for the draft either. Really excited actually. Not next week, but the week after we start our draft month where we bring in people from all over the Twitter sphere that are draft nerds that are doing their draft thing, and we just get them out here and we try to get people prepped and ready to go for not only their rookie drafts but the NFL draft as well, because that's actually how I got into football was through the draft, and I've loved it since I was a teenager. So I am pumped that we are getting there. We are almost within a month of the draft, so I'm excited. So thanks again, Ryan, and I want to thank everybody who stopped by. Appreciate all you guys. If you're watching us, excuse me, on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell, make sure you do all that stuff so that when we go live, you could be along with us. If you're doing a podcast thing, thank you guys too. Really appreciate it. Make sure if you magically found us, you subscribe and then leave a rate and review. Somehow the algorithm figures out that that makes us important, and then we get to see we get to be in front of new people. So on that note, Drew, we are out of here.
Late.